Hello and welcome to Mastermind with me, Clive Myrie. In the spotlight tonight are Catherine Sparks, a retired publican whose specialist subject is the Empress Matilda. George Pope, a publishing production coordinator who will be answering questions on the singer-songwriter Stevie Nicks. Rebecca Messina, a digital editor who will be answering questions on the What Katy Did novels. And Mark Rogers, a database manager, his specialist subject, Universal's Frankenstein films of the 1930s and 40s. Come on. You think you're smart, don't you? Dear viewer, brave enough to withstand the pressure of the black chair. Yeah, I could do that. I hear you whisper. Piece of cake. But 2 minutes of specialist subject questions and 2.5 minutes on general knowledge coming at you rapid fire so quick you have no time to think. Our contenders tonight are all convinced they can handle it. Let's find out, and good luck to one and all. So, can I ask our first contender to join us, please? Your name?
Catherine Sparks.
Your occupation?
Retired publican.
And your specialist subject?
The Empress Matilda.
Yes, the 12th century noblewoman who was a claimant to the English throne. In 2 minutes. Let's go. Matilda was the daughter of Henry I of England and, on her mother's side, the granddaughter of which king of Scotland?
Malcolm Cranmore.
No, almost. Malcolm Canmore. Which Archbishop of Canterbury was entrusted with Matilda's spiritual care during her childhood?
William Corbyl.
No, Anselm. When she was 8, Matilda travelled to meet her intended husband, Henry V, King of the Romans, and the pair were married 4 years later. In which German city?
Worms.
Yes. In 1117, the Pope left Rome to avoid the arrival of Matilda and her husband, meaning that the ceremonial crowning of the imperial couple had to be performed by Maurice, the holder of which Portuguese archbishopric?
Braga.
Yes, Matilda's father made her his favoured successor to the English crown after her only legitimate sibling, William Adelin, was lost at sea in 1120 in a disaster known by the name of which vessel?
The White Ship.
Yes, Matilda's father, King Henry, made the English nobility recognise her as his heir, but on his death, the claimant, Stephen of Blois, rushed to London from which county in France to seize the throne for himself?
From Boulogne.
Yes. In September 1139, Matilda landed on the south coast of England to press her claim to the crown and was welcomed by her stepmother, the Dowager Queen Adeliza, at which castle?
Arundel.
Yes, Matilda gained the upper hand in the ensuing civil war when her forces captured Stephen, at which battle in February 1141?
Lincoln.
Yes, Matilda lost her opportunity to wear the crown of England in June 1141 when she was driven out of which palace by a mob?
Westminster.
Yes, Stephen finally agreed to recognise Matilda's son, Henry, as his heir after the death of his eldest surviving son in his 20s. What was his name?
Eustace.
Yes, Matilda spent the last 19 years of her life overseeing the government of Normandy, based near Rouen at the royal residence of KV, adjacent to which priory?
And Notre-Dame-de-Pré.
Yes, what was the name of the saint whose mummified hand was a precious holy relic that Matilda brought back from Germany?
St. James.
Yes, Matilda's most daring escape was in December 1142, when, with 3 or 4 knights of start-it-off-finish, she slipped out of which besieged castle through snow and across the frozen River Thames?
Oxford.
It was Oxford. And Catherine, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got 11 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. Your name?
George Pope.
Your occupation?
Publishing production coordinator.
And your specialist subject?
Stevie Nicks.
The American singer and songwriter and sometime member of Fleetwood Mac. In 2 minutes, let's go. From the late 1960s until 1971, Stevie Nicks was a member of what San Francisco band, which included Lindsey Buckingham, with whom she became romantically involved?
Fritz.
Yes, Nicks' first album with Lindsey Buckingham, the self-titled Buckingham Nicks, was released in 1973 in the UK on which record label?
Modern.
No, Polydor. Shortly before joining Fleetwood Mac in the mid-1970s, Nicks took waitressing jobs at various places, reputedly earning $1.50 an hour at which 1920s-themed restaurant in Los Angeles?
Pass.
Which track on Fleetwood Mac's Tusk album was written by Stevie Nicks on the piano and includes the words, "You're the poet in my heart, never change"?
Sarah.
Yes, which 1980 solo album has a cover photo of Nicks in a black hat, dress and boots on a white background with her arms outstretched to the sides and her name in red lettering?
Rock a Little.
Yes, what's the surname of the renowned environmentalist for whom Nicks co-wrote the song Jane and first performed it at a special tribute event for her in 1991?
Jane Goodall.
Yes, what subtitle did Nicks give her 2014 album 24 Karat Gold, comprising new recordings of tracks she'd written as far back as the 1960s?
Songs from the Vault.
Yes, Nicks performed her songs Crystal and If You Ever Did Believe for the soundtrack of what 1998 fantasy romantic comedy film?
Practical Magic.
Yes, which song about an awkward photo shoot Nicks had to do for her first album cover is named after a Hollywood star and also mentions Marilyn and Marlene?
Garbo.
Yes, what was the name of Nicks' tour of the United States over the summer of 1998, which culminated in August in Bethel, New York, for the Woodstock anniversary concert, A Day in the Garden?
Enchanted.
Yes, what nickname for Stevie Nicks is featured in the subtitle and lyrics of her song Rock a Little, which was reputedly inspired by a pep talk she once received from her father?
Talk to Me.
No, Lily. What instrument has Nicks regularly used on stage as a visual prop, often muted with gaffer tape, so when she passed it to President Clinton at his inauguration concert, he couldn't get any sound from it?
A tambourine.
It was a tambourine. George, you had just the one pass. Shortly before joining Fleetwood Mac in the 1970s, Nicks took waitressing jobs at various places. One of them was Clementine's restaurant in Los Angeles. And at the end of that round, George, you've got 9 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender your name,
Rebecca Messina,
your occupation,
digital editor.
and your specialist subject.
The What Katy Did novels.
The classic series of American children's novels about Katy Carr and her family, written by Susan Coolidge in the late 19th century. In 2 minutes, starting now, what's the name of Katy's aunt who comes to live with the Carrs in the town of Burnett following the death of Katy's mother?
Izzy.
Yes. Which of Katy's 5 siblings is described in What Katy Did as a thin brown child with beautiful dark eyes and crisp short curls covering the whole of her small head?
Elsie.
Yes, Sunday dinner in the Carr house was always the same, with cold corned beef, baked potatoes, and what dish for dessert?
Rice pudding.
Yes, what's the name of the inveterate talker with a habit of only half finishing her sentences, mistakenly appointed by Dr. Carr as matron and advisor to Katy's sister Clover?
Mrs. Watson.
Yes, on the day of Katy's accident in which she damages her spine, she breaks a hanging vase on a stand, which she'd been given the previous day by which relative?
Cousin Helen.
Yes, Katy and her school friends formed the Society for the Suppression of Unladylike Conduct, whose constitution begins, the object of this society is twofold. It combines having a good time with the pursuit of what?
Decorum.
No, virtue. What Katy Did Next opens with Clover and her sister Elsie sitting together and hemming ruffles for a white dress made from what fabric?
Tulle.
No, muslin. In What Katy Did Next, Katy, now 21 years old, travels to Europe with her friend Polly Ash and Polly's daughter Amy, who's described as looking like what title character of a children's book?
Alice in Wonderland.
Yes, Katy gets excited when she spots what London thoroughfare, which she'd read about in the novel Mansfield Park?
Wardour Street.
No, Wimpole Street. In Clover, the 4th book in the series, what item of clothing does Polly send Katy to wear at her wedding?
A veil.
Yes, what's the name of the health resort in Colorado to which Clover accompanies her brother Phil while he recuperates from pneumonia?
St. Helens.
Yes, what's the name of the family home in Devon from which Imogen Young and her brother Lionel set off for a new life in America when Lionel buys shares in Jeffrey Templestow's cattle business at High Valley?
At Cobblestone Grange.
No, it's Copplestone Grange. Almost. Well, Rebecca, that means you've got no passes and 8 points. And our final contender, please. Your name,
Mark Rogers,
your occupation,
database manager.
and your specialist subject.
Universal's Frankenstein films of the 1930s and 40s.
Yes, the series of influential horror films about the monster created from body parts of corpses and brought back to life by an obsessed scientist. In 2 minutes, let's go. Boris Karloff played the Frankenstein monster in the first 3 films in the series. Which actor took over the role in the 4th film, The Ghost of Frankenstein?
Lon Chaney Jr.
Yes, characters in Son of Frankenstein, The Ghost of Frankenstein, and Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman share what first name with the actress who plays the monster's mate in Bride of Frankenstein?
Elsa.
Yes, with variant spellings. What's the name of the fictional town that's the main or partial setting for the 4 films, from The Ghost of Frankenstein to House of Dracula?
Visaria or
Yes,
Visaria?
in Frankenstein, the old baron gives Henry Frankenstein and his best man, Victor, buttonholes of what flowers?
Orange blossom.
Yes, in Bride of Frankenstein, the scientist, Dr. Pretorius, uses what 3-word phrase to refer to gin and later cigars when talking to Frankenstein and the monster, respectively?
My only weakness.
Yes, in the final scene of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which actor has an uncredited, voice-only cameo as the Invisible Man?
Vincent Price.
Yes, when the Wolfman, Lawrence Talbot, is revived at the start of Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, he's been dead for how many years?
4.
Yes, in Bride of Frankenstein, what's the name of the maid, played by Una O'Connor, who screams when she sees the monster after he's assumed to have died?
Minnie.
Yes, House of Frankenstein, the first film in the series to feature Count Dracula, as well as the Wolfman and the Frankenstein monster, had the working title, The Devil's What?
Brood.
Yes, in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, the comedians, characters, Chick Young and Wilbur Gray work as railway baggage porters in which fictional city in Florida?
San Marino.
No, La Mirada. Which actor who had an uncredited role as a hunter in Bride of Frankenstein played Count Dracula in both House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula?
John Carradine.
Yes, according to the end credits of both Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, what is worth repeating?
A good cast.
Yes, between the events of Son of Frankenstein and The Ghost of Frankenstein, the monster has been preserved in a pit of what substance?
Sulphur.
Yes, in Son of Frankenstein, when a maid explains the unusual arrangement of furniture. I've started, so I'll finish. In the master bedroom, what 3 words complete the rhyme? If the house is filled with dread, place the beds at...
Head to head.
Head to head. And Mark, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got 13 points. And at the end of the specialist subjects round, let's have a look at the scores. In 4th place with 8 points, it's Rebecca. In 3rd place with 9 points sits George. In 2nd place with 11 points is Catherine. And in 1st place with 13 points, it's Mark. So now the general knowledge round. And if there's a tie at the end, then the number of passes is taken into account and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they're tied on passes as well, it's a tie break. So let's ask Rebecca to join us again, please. Rebecca, you start with 8 points. You've now got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge. Here we go. What French form of address translates literally as my lord and is the equivalent of the English Mr. or Sir?
Monsieur.
Yes, what name derived from the Tibetan language is given to a mythical Himalayan creature, which is also referred to as the abominable snowman?
Yeti.
Yes, which comedian and writer created and starred in the hidden camera television series Trigger Happy TV, first shown in 2000, in which he would often be seen shouting into a huge mobile phone?
Dom Jolly.
Yes, what large marine creature has several species known as hammerheads on account of the flattened, elongated shape of their heads?
Shark.
Yes, in May 2022, Max Verstappen won the inaugural staging of which Formula One Grand Prix held in Florida?
Pass.
The 2008 artwork entitled Siren by Mark Quinn is an 18-carat gold sculpture of which British fashion model?
Twiggy.
No, Kate Moss. Which Egyptian president announced the nationalization of the Suez Canal in July 1956?
Nasser.
Yes, what 2-word Latin term, often translated as occasion for war, refers to a situation or circumstances that justify or provoke a military conflict?
Casus belli.
Yes, in June 2022, which British singer topped the UK albums chart for the 3rd time with Gold Rush Kid?
Harry Styles.
No, George Ezra. What was the maiden name of the Duchess of York, the mother of Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie?
Ferguson.
Yes, the Indonesian region of Kalimantan makes up more than 2/3 of which large island?
Java.
No, Borneo. In a well-known scene in what 1996 film is the phrase "show me the money" shouted increasingly loudly during a telephone conversation between Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character, an American football player, and his agent, played by Tom Cruise?
Jerry Maguire.
Yes, what crystalline form of silica is widely used in the manufacture of electronic instruments, as well as clocks and wristwatches?
Platinum.
No, quartz, apart from the Union Jack in the top left corner. The ensign flown by British merchant ships is what primary colour?
Red.
Yes, the 1990s books The Road Ahead and Business at the Speed of Thought, both about computer technology, were written by which American software developer and business magnate?
Bill Gates.
Yes, what mosquito-borne viral disease characterised by joint pain and glandular swelling is sometimes known as breakbone fever?
Malaria.
No, dengue fever. The word senite is an archaic term for what period of time?
Pass.
The award-winning cartoonist Matt Pritchett, known professionally, I've started so I'll finish, known professionally as Matt, joined which UK national daily newspaper in 1988?
The Times.
No, it was the Daily Telegraph. Anna and Becca, you had just the 2 passes. The word senite is an archaic term for a week. Yeah. And Max Verstappen won the inaugural staging of the Miami Grand Prix. So at the end of that round, Rebecca, you've got 18 points. Next up, it's George's turn. So, George, you start with 9 points. The score to beat as it stands is 18 points. You've got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge, starting now. What traditional rhyme about the gunpowder plot begins? Remember, remember. What date in November?
The 5th.
Yes, the 1937 painting Hyperion by the British artist Alfred Munnings is one of many of his works that depict what animal?
Cows.
No, horse. In the 2018 film Venom and its 2021 sequel, which British actor plays the main character, Eddie Brock?
Pass.
The dish of filled baked tortillas known as enchiladas originated in the cuisine of which Latin American country?
Mexico.
Yes, all around the world, which in 1998 became the longest song to top the UK singles chart with a running time of 9 minutes and 38 seconds, was a hit for which Britpop group?
Blur.
No, Oasis. The American bodybuilder and businessman Angelo Siciliano became better known by what professional name, reputedly because of his resemblance to a statue of a figure from Greek mythology?
David.
No, Charles Atlas. What's the title of the long-running television series about the arts, first shown in 2003 with Alan Yentob as the presenter?
Pass.
The annual international opera singing competition Operalia was founded in 1993 by which Spanish tenor and conductor?
Pavarotti.
No, Placido Domingo. What 3-letter palindrome is the word for a cloth or plastic napkin worn by very young children while eating?
Bib.
Yes, in 2022, which French scrum half was named player of the championship at the Men's Six Nations rugby tournament for a second time, having previously won the award in 2020?
Marc Chabal.
No, Antoine Dupont. Which Pacific island, the territory of Chile, is noted for its large stone figures known as moai?
Easter Island.
Yes, the American scientist Katy Bowman led the development of a computer program that, in 2019, created the first ever image of what astronomical phenomenon?
Black hole.
Yes, in 1986, which British businessman led a successful venture to achieve the fastest crossing of the Atlantic by boat 1 year after his first attempt had ended in failure?
Alan Sugar.
No, Richard Branson. Which Roman emperor left behind a written record of his achievements entitled Res Gestae, or Things Accomplished?
Augustus.
Yes, a revival of what stage play written by Larry Kramer about the AIDS crisis of the 1980s opened at the National Theatre in 2021 and was nominated for 5 Olivier Awards?
A Normal Heart.
Yes, in 2013, I've started so I'll finish. Francis O'Grady succeeded Brendan Barber as General Secretary of what organisation?
Unite.
No, it was the TUC. George, you had just 2 passes. What's the title of the long-running television series about the arts involving Alan Yentob? It's Imagine. And the 2018 film Venom and its 2021 sequel star Tom Hardy. Ah, you knew it, man, you knew it. And at the end of that round, George, you now have 16 points. Next up is Catherine. So, Catherine, you start with 11 points. The score to beat as it stands is 18 points. You've now got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge. Here we go. In which sport does the contest end with the umpire declaring game, set and match?
Cricket.
No, tennis. Which Jamaican reggae singer, together with his backing band, had UK hit singles in the 1970s with Exodus, Waiting in Vain and Satisfy My Soul?
Bob Marley.
Yes. Lake Constance, which borders Austria, Germany and Switzerland, forms part of the course of which major European river?
Rhine.
Yes. In a 2008 animated film, what's the name of the eponymous robot who spends his days cleaning a waste-covered Earth until he meets a probe droid called Eve?
Wally.
Yes. What number article of the Lisbon Treaty invoked by the UK in 2017 states in its first clause that any member state may decide to withdraw from the Union in accordance with its own constitutional requirements?
Fifth.
No, Article 50. The name of what metallic element with the chemical symbol Rb and the atomic number 37 is derived from a Latin word for a deep shade of red?
Strontium.
No, rubidium. On a standard London Monopoly board, what's the name of the square that features a depiction of a tap?
Waterworks.
Yes. In poetry, what name is given to a stanza of 4 lines, often with an alternate rhyming pattern?
Haiku.
No, a quatrain. Mary Arden, who was born in the 1530s and brought up in a farmhouse in Warwickshire, was the mother of which famous playwright?
Shakespeare.
Yes, in trigonometry. In a right-angled triangle, what name is given to the function that gives the ratio of the length of the side opposite an acute angle to the length of the hypotenuse?
Arse.
Which American city in the state of Texas has the nickname Big D?
Dallas.
Yes, in 2022, which television series starring Gabrielle Creevy as a teenage schoolgirl with a troubled home life won a BAFTA in the drama series category?
Waterloo Road.
No, In My Skin, what 2-word term, often abbreviated to AI, refers to the ability of machines to emulate human reasoning and learning?
Artificial intelligence.
Yes, which knighted Antarctic explorer died in January 1922 aboard his ship The Quest, anchored off South Georgia, and at his widow's request was buried in nearby Grytviken Cemetery?
Scott.
No, Ernest Shackleton. Which hormone, the most abundant androgen in men, is responsible for the development, I've started to all finish, of masculine characteristics such as facial hair and deepening of the voice?
Testosterone.
It is testosterone. Just a 1 past Catherine in trigonometry. In a right-angled triangle, the name given to the function that gives the ratio of the length of the side opposite an acute angle to the length of the hypotenuse? Sine. And at the end of that round, Catherine, you've got 19 points. And finally, let's have Mark again. So, Mark, you start with 13 points. The score to beat to get through to the semi-finals is Catherine's 19 points. You've got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge. Starting now, the abbreviation ETA, often used in text messaging, stands for estimated time of what?
Arrival.
Yes, what's the title of the third film in the so-called Dollars trilogy of 1960s westerns, which began with A Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More?
Good, the Bad and the Ugly?
Yes. Which Spanish artist painted the 1932 portrait known as Woman Sitting Near a Window, which sold for more than $100 million in New York in May 2021?
Picasso?
Yes. Which future US president said in a speech in 1901 that his country's foreign policy should be to speak softly and carry a big stick?
Theodore Roosevelt?
Yes. The Bay of Bengal is in the northern part of which ocean?
Indian?
Yes, the novels of which British author include The Dressmaker, The Bottle Factory Outing and An Awfully Big Adventure, all of which were nominated for the Booker Prize.
Beryl Bainbridge.
Yes, what's the name of the protein-rich solid substance produced when milk coagulates, which is used as the basis for most types of cheese?
Yogurt?
No, curd, in the theme tune to which 1990s American sitcom does the title character rap about how he was born and raised in West Philadelphia before he got into a fight and his mother sent him away to live with relatives.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Yes, in 1991, King Harold V succeeded his father Olav V as king of which Scandinavian country?
Norway?
Yes, the influential self-titled 1967 album The Velvet Underground, and Nico features on its cover a print by Andy Warhol depicting what fruit?
Banana?
Yes, in 1970, which British boxer became the first person to win the BBC Sports Personality of the Year award for a second time?
Henry Cooper?
Yes, comet, fantail and shubunkin are breeds of what species of fish often kept as a domestic pet?
Koi?
No, goldfish, the flag of which province of Canada features a white cross on a blue background with a fleur-de-lis in each quarter?
British Columbia?
No, Quebec. The M69 motorway extends from just outside Coventry to its junction with the M1 a few miles southwest of which other city?
Birmingham?
No, Leicester. The Polish Union leader and later President Lech Wałęsa was awarded the 1983 Nobel Prize in which category?
Peace?
Yes, which French composer born in 1875 wrote the piano work Pavane for a Dead Princess and the ballet Daphnis and Chloe?
Gounod?
No, Maurice Ravel. Nora Barnacle was the wife and muse of which Irish writer who died in 1941?
Yeats?
No, it was James Joyce. And Mark, you had no passes, and you've done it. You've got 24 points. So, let's have a look at the final scores. In fourth place with 16 points is George. In third place with 18 points, Rebecca. In second place with 19 points, it's Catherine. And in first place with 24 points, it's Mark, which means he goes through to the semi-finals. Congratulations to him. Now, if you would like to be a contender in the next series, please go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind, and you can follow us at Mastermind Quiz. Join us again next time for more Masterminds. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
I'm feeling shocked. It's really exciting to finally be on Mastermind. My father, who passed away last year, was very much into quizzes. And it's just a pity he couldn't have seen me on this today.
And your specialist subjects?
Universal's Frankenstein films of the 1930s and 40s. I was just relieved that I did manage to do well at my specialist subject. Vincent Price.
Yes.
Brood.
Yes.
Head to Head.
Head to head.
It was really enjoyable going back to the subject and re-watching those films again and again and again. I can probably do with not watching them for a while now.